as the effect was when I set it hoping he would destroy it, because I had a whole bunch of them. And then later I got an Ojama Delta Hurricane off, and before I did that I just activated it because when the tokens are destroyed they take 300 damage from each. So it's like I did an extra 600 damage, yeah. Most of the time, though, you just want to send it to the graveyard. And we do have a lot of ways to do that. As you saw, we're already playing Foolish Burial Goods. But we also have, there's this really cool trap called Ojama Pajama, which in the pure Ojama deck is actually a key critical part. It lets you add any Ojama card from your deck to your hand and then discard a card. So you can immediately like add this and discard it, or if you already have it in your hand, you can add one of your other combo pieces and discard that, or you can discard Oja Magic and then get a whole bunch of stuff. In the course of 2 turns, you could just get like 3 copies of every Ojama. It's just kind of nutty. I think as it is though, was green one of the ones we already banished, or black? Yeah, we already banished the black. So we can't activate another Oja Magic. We need to hope that we don't draw one of those. As it stands, though, we're going to get another negate. Hopefully, though, he'll destroy both.
Hello everybody, it's Fufu here, and today we're going to be doing something different. So I will be looking at replays because I have been researching a very interesting mechanic. So in previous generations you were able to mimic the move Transform, and therefore you could have loads of different kinds of Pokemon then using the move Transform, and that can create some really interesting scenarios that I wanted to do for video topics. But first I had to test this mechanic. And I'll tell you what kind of things I was thinking about. So I've got a Blissey here that learned Mimic through a Generation 3 tutor. And Blissey obviously has the most HP in the game. Transform, when you transform into something, you copy all of their stats, their ability, their moves, and everything. But the only thing that you keep from your own Pokemon is your HP stat. So obviously Blissey would be the best thing to use to turn into other Pokemon, because you would then keep your massive HP stat but then copy all of their stats, and I thought it would be really fun to look at doing that. So the first battle I'm going to show you is where I'm just going to try to mimic Transform and then get my Blissey to maybe use it. But this was just proof of concept to see if Blissey could learn Transform through Mimic. So we've got a Ditto and a Blissey going off against each other. Ditto will transform into Blissey, and so the first turn Blissey is going to outspeed, so I'll need to just go, I think I go, let me at him. Make much difference. And Ditto goes for Transform. Now why I have to look into this is because there isn't much information out there about this. So here I'm going to use the Mimic, but it fails. So I wasn't really sure why that was. That's how it worked in previous generations. But then I thought maybe it's because when Ditto actually transforms, it no longer knows Transform. It's then turned into a Blissey that doesn't know Transform. And maybe Blissey is trying to mimic Transform back, but it can't anymore just because Ditto's forgotten it. So then what I tried to do in this next battle is have my Blissey go for a substitute before Ditto goes for the Transform. Transform will then fail, and Blissey should be able to mimic the Ditto because it still knows Transform. It didn't transform, it's still got Transform in its moveset. And it's just using the previous turn, so Mimic should mimic Transform. Blissey should then be able to transform. That's the concept. So that's just explaining what's going on here. So we're going to go to the sub first. Ditto will fail using Transform, and then we will try to mimic it. And this should definitely work. The fact that the move failed that Ditto used doesn't make a difference. So you can see their Mimic failed again. So I was quite upset here. I know that Mimic can copy moves that fail, and I tried this. I definitely tried this, but I tried using Aurora Veil outside of Hail, and obviously it fails, and then Blissey was able to mimic that move and then try to use it itself. But it couldn't do it with Transform, which means that Mimic cannot copy transform. So I was quite upset, and I had all of these cool video ideas that I wanted to try. So having like Blissey turn into a Shedinja, so Shedinja obviously having 1 HP, having a 360 HP Shedinja would be pretty cool and quite fun to look at how you could use that. But unfortunately it didn't seem like it was going to work, and I was really upset. But then I talked about it with my friend Lars, aka El Sizzle, and he came up with this next experiment that is a bit more out there, but I thought it was a good one to try. So obviously transform is one way of getting your Pokemon to transform into a different one. The other way is imposter, which is basically the ability version of the move transform. So here what I've got is 2 Dittos. One in the back has imposter, this one just has Limber, because obviously you'll see it doesn't transform straight away. What I'll do is set up a substitute with both my Mew and my Blissey, so that the imposter Ditto can't transform into either of them. I'll then, on the next turn, switch out into the imposter Ditto and it won't transform, and I will try to skill swap the imposter, which would then hopefully activate, and I've got a 1 in 2 chance of my Blissey turning into the Shedinja. That's the plan. So anyway, you can see here that I'm switching out my Limber Ditto and then bringing in my Imposter Ditto. This has Imposter. You can see it doesn't activate straight away, and that is because the opponents are behind a sub, and when someone's behind a substitute, transform fails. You saw that in the previous match. Imposter also fails, and my Blissey is going to go straight for the skill swap. So now you can see that the Imposter is going to be swapped onto my Blissey. Which opponent is it going to transform into? Let us see. So there we go, my Blissey's got Imposter, and it doesn't transform. And it's so upsetting. So that is because Imposter only activates as soon as you send a Pokemon out, which means that if you skill swap, the ability won't activate again. Most of the time if you skill swap an ability, it will activate again. For example, Intimidate will activate again. But here you see I go for the second best, and I go for transform with my Mew. Mew learns transform, and so I just wanted to get some semblance of a bulky Shedinja, and so I transform with my Mew. This Shedinja has 200 HP, which is pretty cool. 207 HP Shedinja, that's pretty cool. It's not as cool as a 360 HP Shedinja, but it's as close as I'm going to get, because Imposter and Transform can only be used by the Pokemon that learn them. So Imposter, you can only have that with Ditto that will activate, and in terms of Transform, you've got Ditto, and then Smeargle can sketch it, and also Mew learns it too. So that was one thing. The other thing that I really wanted to try was like an Eviolite transform user. So Chansey with Eviolite, if it transforms even into a fully evolved Pokemon, I think it would still get the Eviolite boost. That's something that I wanted to test, but I won't be able to, because it looks like you can't do this anymore. Now, why I wanted to look into it is because you definitely could do this in previous generations, and I've looked online because you definitely could do this with Eviolite boost. That's something that I wanted to test, but I won't be able to, because it looks like you can't do this anymore. Now, why I wanted to look into it is because you definitely could do this in previous generations, like an Eviolite transform, and in terms of transform, you've got Ditto, and then Smeargle can sketch it, and also Mew learns it too. So that was one thing. The other thing that I really wanted to try was like an Eviolite transform user. So Chansey with Eviolite, if it transforms even into a fully evolved Pokemon, I think it would still get the Eviolite boost. That's something that I wanted to test, but I won't be able to, because it looks like you can't do this anymore. Now, why I wanted to look into it is because you definitely could do this in previous generations, and I've looked online, and it is not anywhere clearly stated. I mean, I think there are Bulbapedia pages that have looked into this, and there's still a lot of research going on. And so I wanted to try it myself, just to get some answers for myself and for you guys. And unfortunately, it's one of those ones where it didn't go my way, didn't get my 360 HP Shedinja. I wanted to have a Chansey transform into an Eviolite Chansey transform into a Shuckle, and then have an Eviolite Shuckle with like 300 and something HP, which would have been definitely the bulkiest Pokemon in the game, which would have been awesome. but it's not happening. I'm sorry about that, but it's good research and it's good to know. If you guys have any other ideas as to how I might be able to get this to work, please let me know in the comment section, because this is something that I really, really want to see. And I think I exhausted the Mimic transform option. I do think that Mimic can no longer copy transform, although there may be another way to have another different move, pull transform. I don't know if Metronome can or something like that, maybe assist. I haven't actually checked those, but yeah, I don't know about that. And Imposter, it looks like a lost cause as well, because Imposter only activates when your opponent switches in and you can't skill swap something before it's switched in. So, but if you have ideas, please leave them in the comment section. That is going to be all for today. I hope you found this one an interesting one. I think that this one maybe contributed to the community because it hasn't been looked into too much, and I hope that more people get this knowledge. But that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Fufu, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye. Hello everybody, it's Fufu here, and today, this is Lars, aka in the description below. This, which we'll go into in a second, but if you're not that interested in the rules and you just want to see these really long turns, then I'll pace. So the timer has started and we've got the Pokemon on the battlefield, and yeah, we're gonna have some abilities activate in a second. So,
of course, there's the trace, and we got the dancer, okay.
I love how pink the field is right now. Okay, so we've got 2 Gardevoirs, and
both with dancer. Okay, that's the first Z move.
yeah, the first Z move. Now Z moves take a long time, so I'm assuming that Lars, you'll have used some Z moves. We don't know yet. I haven't.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm using some Z moves. Yeah.
So they take because the animation takes so long. So I went for the all-out pummeling. Not because it takes any longer than the others, but just because I'm targeting the Oricorio and I didn't want to do too much damage, so it quad resists. And that's really why.
Yeah,
see, it's still just tons.
I have actually looked into like what Z moves take longer. So I'm using the longest non what you call it, individual.
See, I know that they do have different times, and I was originally using Shattered Psyche, but it did a bit too much damage because it was stab and only one time resisted. So that was a bit of a shame, but Shattered Psyche definitely was more than All Out Pummeling. All Out Pummeling is one of the shorter ones, but it's only a few seconds in it, and in all, that doesn't affect this tactic too much.
Okay, now the actual tactic starts.
Yeah, now this is the tactic. So we've got the Revelation Dance going off, and you'll see I've got the Shell Bell as well, which is an item that is now going to activate every time they attack. So it's an item that you'll get multiple like animations for. So I thought that would be quite a good one to do. And you get like the leftovers kind of effect as well, rather than just losing health from a life orb or anything like that. So that's why I chose.
Okay, I didn't bother. Oh, will something die right here?
Well, yeah, it's a lot more powerful, but just about hangs up. Yeah, and
okay, there's
the next one.
Okay, so now 4 dances. Okay, that might actually get close. That might get close to my this is pretty long. This is pretty long. Let's be honest.
This is pretty cool.
But I think I used another thing.
Nice.
I don't know how long it is. That's the problem. I have no idea how much.
Close. I have no idea what Lars has done yet, by the way. I have no idea what his tactic is, so it's going to be really cool to see that one. So we just get a bit more Shell Bell. Now, the one thing I don't have in this battle, which I maybe could have engineered a bit better, is any fainting. None of the Pokemon faint, and that does take time when a Pokemon faints. So that I did get a crit there, which was lucky because it adds on like half a second. It's a tiny little thing, so I got lucky there. But that's going to be it. So I'm going to pause it there. And mine was about 2 minutes, just over 2 minutes 50. So that's
close to 3 minutes. That's
close to 3 minutes. Yeah, so it's quite long. So we're going to see. And now I need to set up the next battle and see how long Lars's is. But after that first one, let me know in the comment section who you think is going to win. Do you think that almost 3 minutes is long enough, or do you think that Lars has come up with a longer turn? We will see in a minute. Okay, everybody, I've got it on screen. We can now see Lars's Pokemon, and That's some really interesting stuff. Right, let's see. Can I work out what these... How are you feeling, by the way, before going into this? Do you feel confident or do you feel nervous?
I feel very nervous. That's very, very close. I mean, looking at the squad I have right here, it's, like, I think it's obvious what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be some weather shenanigans involved.
Yeah. Okay. So I see maybe some skill swapping, and so it's a lot of abilities activating. So you've got weather, and you've got the terrain and the trace. And I guess so. Yeah, I guess it's a weather swapping, and then maybe some skill swapping again.
We will see. We'll see.
Let's hop in. So I'm gonna press play now, and I'm gonna get that time ready to start as soon as the trainers throw out the Pokemon. By the way, cool vest. Whose vest is that? The Houndoom vest.
That's shout out to the Confusion for having this battle with me. I only have 1 DS. I'm not as rich as Dr. Fu right here.
Wow. Okay, so we've got the timer started, and this is all looking very exciting. I think this is just going to be ability hell right now. It's going to be all
we are going to see first trace, snow warning, we got the hail.
Okay, we've got the hail, and then I guess we are going to get...
Oh, terrain, there we go.
Grassy terrain, brilliant, yeah.
Then there, be gone hail, we're switching to sand right now.
Yeah, I see where this is.
And, okay, back to hail.
And then trace.
Never mind.
Oh wait, okay, yeah.
Oh wait, what's that?
Yeah,
because we actually Mega Evolve.
Yeah.
Mega Evolution animation is in there. Mega Tyranitar and Mega Bounce were actually going to be released not so long ago, so I actually could use this tactic with Mega Evolution.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, back to sand.
This is going to be long with all the Megas, and then I can't tell.
And a Mega Bounce. We go back to hail. I just can't decide which one I want. It's a mess.
So I guess the other two must be your Z move mons then. So that's okay. That's cool. Yeah, I think this is gonna be really close.
I would have loved if Mega Bambusno would learn Grassy Terrain, but it actually didn't. I had to give it another move, and you had to use Tapu Bulu for like the other thing. But yeah, actually the longest Z move I found out, not Sarah, is actually Twinkle Tackle.
Okay.
So that's why I have 2 fairies as well.
Ah, okay. So does Tapu Bulu get a fairy move? What fairy move?
Dazzling Gleam. Dazzling Gleam.
Yeah, it's Dazzling Gleam. I didn't even know that. That's cool. Yeah, so it will be the longest, and probably maybe about 5 seconds longer than the all-out pummeling, because all-out pummeling is definitely...
In total, they might be like both together, might be 5 seconds longer. I don't know. I actually don't know. I just checked if something is longer than Twinkle Tackle, and nothing was.
Yeah. Oh, this is going to be so close.
Because like this going left and right animation, this right here takes a long time for an animation, and shooting back, boom.
Oh, how much damage is this going to do? Oh, it's special though, and it's a Tapu Bulu, so probably not very much.
And Bulldoze is nice because spread move, and it lowers everyone's speed.
Yeah, oh my god, that was really clever. I didn't even think about that. Hitting multiple Pokemon with a stat lowering thing. Oh, that's really clever. This is going to be so close. Oh my god.
And we're not done yet. Don't forget, we still have Grassy Terrain animation for everyone and hail damage for everyone.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be longer than mine. Definitely going to be longer than mine. Yeah, definitely. We're about 20 seconds off right now, and I think that it's going to be more than 20 seconds.
Come on. No, don't be so fast, Hail. Take your time.
It's definitely going to be. That was really smart.
And, Grassy, we heal a bit.
Oh my god, it's 10 seconds! 10 seconds!
Come on! You can do this! Babas, no! Don't heal yet! Don't heal yourself yet!
Oh my god! I think you've got it. But I think it's literally seconds in it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
It's over.
It's over. Oh my god, that was intense. That was so good. Yeah, you got it by about 10 seconds actually. Yeah.
Yes.
Very good.
Boom.
Very good. Yeah, that's about 10 seconds over. Yeah, well done.
Okay, I didn't expect to be this. Like I didn't actually count my time before.
Yeah.
I just did go for it, but yeah, the Bulldoze actually helped. The Mega Evolutions were nice.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's really interesting that it got us so close as well. There's such different tactics. Like I really like the way that you went for all the different levels of like the abilities activating, and then like the status and weather effects and stat drops. Whereas I was just like, I want my Pokemon to move as much as possible. Just like move like 5 times each. That will do it. That's so interesting. I
mean, I guess if you could probably increase yours already if you like change your Gardevoir for Mega Alakazam phrase.
Yes, potentially. What was but then it can't have a Z move. And it was one of my
then you
Z-move
would have-
mons,
Oh, true.
so I couldn't really do that. Well, the Z-move takes longer than the mega animation, I think.
Yeah,
So.
that's for sure.
So yeah, I did think about that. But yeah, I think there were potentially ways that I could have extended mine, but I was quite happy with the way it went. I think it was a pretty good tactic, but not quite good enough. So there you go, guys. Lars is the winner of our competition, but
Yeah!
I'm sure, in fact, I know that there are longer ones that you can do. So please, in the comment section, get discussing and let us know what you think would be even longer than the ones we tried. I have some ideas myself. One thing that I thought of, if you have like 4 power construct Zygardes, 2 of them can use Z moves and they all can get their animation. You can get like 4 mega animations, or not even mega animations, they take longer than that. So that would take a long time, and even just their normal moves like Core and Force, they can take a long time as well, so that would be a cool one to try. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for your help, Lars, and your idea. It was great. I had so much fun doing this one. So thank you very much.
Glad to be able to be here. Keep spreading the knowledge. Keep spreading the knowledge.
Definitely. And if you want to check out Lars' channel, he does a lot of battling. Check that in the description below. He's a really great content creator, so you definitely want to look at that. All that's left to be said is I've been Fufu, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.
See ya.
Hello everybody, it's Fufu here, and today we're going to be looking at what is the weakest move in Pokemon. That's not taking into account the Pokemon using the move, only the base power of the moves themselves. So you get thinking about what you think it's going to be. First off, I just want to say we're looking at the damaging moves only. We're not looking at any status moves or anything like that. So it's only going to be the damaging moves, because status effects, they are kind of more subjective. Some people would say some are more powerful than others. We need an objective measure, and so we're looking at damaging moves. What is the weakest damaging move there is? By the same logic, that means I'm not going to be taking into account damageless moves that don't do anything or seem to be just completely damageless. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying this because of obviously Magikarp Splash is not going to be hit. That's not a damaging move, and we can't really compare it against other things, especially now that it's got a Z move that's actually kind of useful. When it gets the attack boost, it's pretty good, and the other ones like Hold Hands and Celebrate and Happy Hour, whatever, those ones we're not going to be considering. It's only damaging moves. So let's get into it. First off, I'm going to consider some exceptions, and by those I mean set damage moves. These are moves without a base power, so I don't really feel like we should be comparing these either. But they are good to note because actually some of these could be the weakest moves out there. So there are some set damaging moves like Sonic Boom that always does 20 damage, Dragon Rage that always does 40, but the ones to really think about are Seismic Cross and Nightshade. These do damage dependent on the user's level, and if you have a level 1 Pokemon going for one of these moves, they will be doing 1 damage, which is pretty darn weak. But as I say, this is a set damage move, it's not a base power, so it's not really comparing like with like. So though they are very weak moves, I wouldn't necessarily consider them in this list. The other move I want to just mention briefly first is False Swipe and also Hold Back as well. These moves aren't the weakest in and of themselves anyway, they do have a higher power than a lot of moves. But if the opponent is on 1 HP, these damaging moves will do 0 damage, and that is just how they work. That's their mechanic, it helps you catch Pokemon. And I don't think that really counts either, because it's not that they don't have a decent base power, it's because they're just programmed not to KO that Pokemon. So I don't think that counts either. So those are the exceptions, and if you thought of any of them, well done, because those ones are kind of finding the loopholes in this whole thing. But we'll get on with moves with the base power that is the lowest. So let's think about what are the weakest moves. And some of the early moves may come to mind. Some of the weak Pokemon that you get right at the beginning of the game. they have some pretty weak moves. So you might be thinking of stuff like Tackle and Pound and Scratch and stuff, but they aren't actually the weakest moves out there. There are some that are a lot weaker. You can think of some of the multi-hit moves that with each hit that has a very low base power. So for example, with those you have Fury Attack and Barrage. These ones hit multiple times, but each hit only is base 15 power, which is very low. But because they hit multiple times, you're at least going to hit twice, which means that overall it's base 30 power really. So I would say that these don't count. If you are thinking of early root moves though, you might think of Poison Sting, which is a weak poison type move, and it is able to poison. Little Weedle, right back in red and blue, was able to use this move. It's quite a weak move, but if it does poison, it's pretty annoying. Anyway, that's quite a weak base power. Base 15 is quite low. Other moves that have a low base power like that are Wrap and Bind, the ones that catch you. These ones are low base power, but they deal more damage at the end of the turn. But that low base power of base 15 is pretty low. It's not the lowest though. It is not the lowest. There are two moves with a base power of 10, and one of those is Triple Kick. For the same reason as Fury Attack, I'm not going to count that one because Triple Kick, it hits with a base power of 10 on the first hit, but it hits potentially two more times with even more power. So I don't think that one counts at all, but the other one definitely does, and that is Constrict. Constrict has the lowest fixed base power of any move, and this move, it just deals base 10 damage, and it can potentially lower your opponent's speed. But it's a pretty rubbish move, and you won't be seeing anyone using it seriously in battle. So that is actually the weakest fixed base power move. But you can potentially get even weaker moves than that. Notice that I was saying fixed base power. There are some moves with variable base power, and these moves potentially can go lower than Constrict. Now what I mean by variable base power is it depends on the situation. The move could do more or less damage. And an obvious one for that, again, I'm going to mention Magikarp again, he gets Flail, which can seem like a pretty rubbish move. So this does more damage when your HP is lower. But if you have full HP, it's not going to do very much damage. But Flail actually has a minimum power of 20, and same with Reversal. That's just an example of variable power. There are some that get a very low base power, and one example of that is Return and also Frustration. So if something is as happy as it can be with its trainer, its Frustration move will be 1 base power. 1. That is very low. That is very, very low. And the opposite is true with Return. If your Pokemon absolutely hates you, it's not going to be doing much damage with Return. So that is potentially the lowest base power possible, but there are some moves with interesting calculations behind them that could lead to lower base powers, but don't. So what I mean by those are Eruption and Water Spout. If you have a Pokemon on 1 HP with these moves, and they have a lot of HP, so if it's a level 100 Pokemon with 1 HP, it potentially would be doing less than 1 base power damage, except that the move specifically states that your base powers can't go below 1. And this information I am getting from Wikipedia. So Eruption, Water Spout, and also Crush Grip are moves with which their calculation would allow a number below 1, except that there is a clause basically in the calculation that says it cannot go below 1. So they are also minimum base power 1. There is only one move I found on Bulbapedia that had a calculation that could potentially go below 1 base power that did not have this clause to say that it can't go below 1 base power. So I am going to test that today. And so this goes out to all the people who say my channel doesn't add anything on top of Bulbapedia. It does. I've got multiple videos that have information that is not on Bulbapedia yet or is incorrect on Bulbapedia. I do have some things, and we're going to test another one of those today. What we're going to be looking at is Gyro Ball. Gyro Ball is a move that's actually quite good and quite viable competitively, because if you have a very slow Pokemon, Gyro Ball's max power is huge. It can be really, really powerful. Stack Attacker, new Ultra Beast, very much likes using this move. But one of the fastest Pokemon in the game also learns this move, and that is Electrode. Electrode has a blistering speed, and if it hits something with a very low speed, this attack will have an extremely low base power. So what we're doing today is testing a Choice Scarf Electrode hitting an Iron Ball Munchlax with Gyro Ball, and I'm going to compare it against Return. My Electrode absolutely hates me. It's a very sad but very fast ball, and we're going to see if Return does more damage than Gyro Ball, because Gyro Ball's power could potentially be less than 1, so it could be less than Return. So that is what we're testing today, so let's get into the battle. Okay, so we are going to get things set up here. We've got my very fast, very sad Electrode that's going to use Return and Gyro Ball on Munchlax. But what I have to do first is, because the damage numbers we're going to be dealing with are going to be so low, because it's a very low base power moves, I want to exaggerate those differences. So if there is any difference between Gyro Ball and Return's base power, though we can really see those. So what I'm first going to do is reduce Munchlax's defense down as much as possible, so that we can see any differences between the power of the two moves. So I'm going to Screech it until it's got -6 defense, and at the same time I'll reduce its speed as much as possible so that we can get that lowest base power Gyro Ball possible, to see if it can go below that 1 base power. So bear with me as I do that. Okay, so now Munchlax with the Iron Ball, it's got -6 speed, -6 defense. Let us go for a Return on that target. We need to see how much damage this is doing. And we'll just go for other moves, doesn't matter. But yeah, we need to see how much Return is doing before we see if Gyro Ball can do even less damage than Return does. So here is a very weak Return. And it does 2 damage. 2. That is all. At -6. That's a 1 base power move from a pretty weak Electro. So, can Gyro Ball do even less? It needs to do 1 damage. Can it do just one damage, or is it going to have? Is it going to be the same case as the other moves that I talked about, where they are basically capped at the lowest? I say capped, it's like top instead of it. The lowest base power it can be is 1. We're going to work this out. We're going to see. Add to the collective knowledge of Wikipedia and see if Gyro Ball's base power cannot go below 1. But we will see. Now, do we do 2 damage? Do we do 1 damage? How does this work? That did 2 damage. That is 2 damage. So it looks like Gyro Ball, like the other moves, it can't go below a base power of 1. So that means that Return and Frustration, as well as Gyro Ball, as well as Eruption, Water Spout, and Crush Grip, all these moves are the lowest base power moves because they have a base power of 1. So let's just see this again. Let's just make sure that we can't do any less than 2 damage. There is another 2 damage. That is just so weak. It's got -6 defense. Holy crap. Okay, well there you go. I thought that was quite an interesting video to do. Just to test whether Return or Gyro Ball is weaker. Turns out they're the same. So there you go. Gyro Ball can potentially be the weakest move in the game, despite it actually being a reasonably good move. The same with Return. In fact, all of the moves I mentioned apart from Crushing It are pretty good moves. You just have to get them in the right situation. Other than that, it's Constrict. Constrict is the lowest base power move in the game. Very interesting. That's going to be all for today. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Fufu, you've been awesome. Hopefully, see you next time. Goodbye.
Hello everybody and welcome to a video all about hacks. We'll be looking at what is the lowest chance for your opponent to get an attack off due to luck and chance in this game. It's a fairly controversial topic, but this is purely for science, and I wouldn't expect any of you lovely viewers out there to want to weaponize these deplorable tactics in battle. So so prepare for a fairly mathsy video that you will hopefully enjoy and learn something from too. I'd like to begin with a caveat. I won't be covering 100% chances not to attack. For example, the first turn of sleep, or flinching your opponent while they're trying to use focus punch. Stuff like that isn't particularly relevant here. We're talking about stacking effects that have a chance of stopping the opposing Pokemon from attacking, but does not guarantee that they won't attack, like a fake out flinch. So what are the factors we'll be considering? First off, we'll look at statuses. Then we'll look at volatile statuses, which I'll explain about in a minute. Then we'll move on to attacks and their secondary effects. And finally we'll consider if abilities and item effects can come into play too. And then I'll end off the video with another consideration to make that's not directly relevant here, but I think is something that some people might have at the back of their minds, and I definitely thought about too. So first off, statuses, and the most obvious one that may come to mind when you think about hacks and not attacking may well be paralysis. It's easily applied and comes with a 1 in 4 chance to stop your opponent from attacking. This is a good start, but it's not actually the most powerful status to prevent your opponent from attacking, although it's probably the most viable in battles because it's really easy to apply, and once you've paralysed your opponent, they stay paralysed, it doesn't resolve, so it's probably the most viable one in battle. We could consider sleep. After the first turn, the opponent only has a 1 in 3 chance to wake up, which is better than paralysis, but it's still not the best. The best status to apply, if you can, is freeze, which gives your opponent only a 1 in 5 chance to thaw an attack on a turn. If you want to find out more about applying the freeze status, I've already done a video on that, so you can check that out in the description. So you've frozen your opponent. What next? Well, we'll look at volatile status. What does this even mean? Volatile status is any status condition that can appear in battle but that disappears after a battle, or if you switch out, for example. And the most obvious example of this is confusion, which is definitely something that we want to look into here. Confusion gives a 1 in 3 chance to prevent your opponent from attacking while they hit themselves in confusion instead. And that's only been reduced to 1/3 in Pokemon Sun and Moon. Before that it used to be a half, but actually it's been nerfed a little bit, which is a good thing overall because everyone hates confusion, but just for this experiment it does mean that the numbers won't be quite as impressive, but don't worry, they're still impressive. So that's cool, we'll use confusion. Any other volatile statuses? Actually, yes. Attract is another one, which gives a 50% chance for your opponent being immobilized by love. As long as they're the right gender, bloody heteronormative Game Freak denying beautiful natural gay Pokemon love. What's interesting with these volatile statuses is we can stack these on top of each other, so you can be attracted and you can be confused. I mean, we've all been there. And also you can be frozen at the same time. So all of that goes together and you are already stacking in a lot of effects, which is great. So now we've got normal status and volatile status all covered, we can move on to attacks and their secondary effects. And the one that we want to look into is none other than the disgusting flinch. It can completely stop the opponent from moving depending on the additional effect chance of the move. The best case is with a 30% additional chance to flinch, and a ton of moves have this effect. Things like Air Slash, Iron Head, Headbutt, for example. So we're going to use one of those moves. The final considerations are about abilities and items. There are abilities and items that can directly try to add secondary effects themselves, which can prevent the opponent from moving. So, for example, King's Rock or the Stench ability try to add another flinch chance to moves. With the King's Rock, it gives a 10% flinch chance to moves that cannot already flinch. So that's actually a lower chance than the 30% moves like Headbutt that we were looking at already. But the chance activates for every time you hit the opponent. So a Pokemon with Skill Link using a multi-hit move that hits 5 times gives you a higher chance than 30% to flinch the opponent, which is really cool. It's actually just over 40%, and you can pause right now for some proof there. It's not 50%, it's slightly less than that, it's about 40%. But actually, abilities are better than using this King's Rock Skill Link combination to get that flinch chance. Stench is one option, but it's not as powerful as Serene Grace. So Serene Grace with a 30% chance to flinch is the best way to do that, because Serene Grace doubles that secondary effect chance to 60%. And this is the maximum flinch chance we can try to use with an attack. So in the end, I couldn't think of any items that would actually be useful. We just need to go for an attack with a 30% chance to flinch and Serene Grace. So that's it. Looking at our overall strategy for the best way to prevent the opponent from attacking, we've got the freeze status, we've got the confusion and attract volatile statuses, and we've got the flinch chance, which is boosted by Serene Grace. So to work out the overall chance for the opponent to be able to attack, we need to see how this looks in battle. And what I did was I got a Blissey with Serene Grace, Ice Beam, Attract, Swagger, and Headbutt. So it's got all of those things all on that one set, and we can try to be really disgusting with it. So what I wanted to do was try to apply Attract first, because it sticks around, it doesn't disappear, so I can just go for Attract and then try to do all of these other things. So I tried to then spam Ice Beam to freeze the opponent, and then I would confuse them with Swagger, and then just go for Headbutt flinches to try to prevent them from attacking. I wanted to see like what order all the effects activated in, and just to see what this looked like in battle, so that I could then theory out and see what the mechanics are and what the chances are for all of this put together. So that's what it looks like in battle, but what does it look like with the maths? What is the actual number chance for this poor Snorlax getting an attack off? So that's when we come to the probability trees again, which I've covered in a video before, but we're going to be looking at them again. So what happens is we've got this Snorlax, and it's got all of these statuses and things going on all at the same time. So it starts off as frozen, and it needs to thaw first. That's the first thing that comes, and it's only got a 1 in 5 chance to thaw. If it does thaw, it then has to go through the flinch chance, which is only a 4 in 10 chance not to be flinched because of that Serene Grace ability boosting the odds. It means that it's actually very likely that it will flinch even if it thaws. But if it doesn't flinch, it then has the confusion check to pass, which is actually in its favour. So it's got a 2/3 chance to pass that confusion check. And once it's passed that confusion check, it's then a coin flip as to whether it will be immobilized by love or not. And if you pass that a half chance, then you will actually be able to get to attack. That's a lot of checks before you can attack though, so that's going to be tricky for the poor Snorlax. So overall, what is the chance for this Snorlax to attack? Well, what you have to do is times up all of the chances of each of the stages going on that path to the attack. And so if we put all of that together, we find out that the chance of a Snorlax getting that attack off is 2.67%, which is tiny. Now that's comparable to missing a compoundized sleep powder. I don't know if that's a good comparison for you guys, but it's a very low chance. It's like super hard for this Snorlax to get that attack off. But that's not actually the whole story. So all I've done so far, just because it's kind of easier for me to do in game, is looked at the singles aspect. But in the doubles aspect, can we actually change this up to be even less of a chance? And the answer is yes. So if we go to the probability trees, let's look to see what things might be affected in a doubles battle. The freeze can't be affected. You can only have one status at a time. So that check is the same. But the flinch chance can be affected because you can have 2 Pokemon attacking that Snorlax and trying to prevent it from attacking. So if we're just taking this as us trying to prevent the opponent from attacking and they're not attacking themselves at the same time, which wouldn't really make much sense, we can then say that we can get an extra flinch chance with another Serene Grace Blissey, for example. And so it will have to go through that 4/10 flinch chance and it doesn't get flinched, and then it will have to do it again for the other Blissey's Headbutt. We then have to look at confusion. You can't have multiple confusions, so that doesn't work. We wouldn't change anything there. And in terms of attract, In this game, you can only be attracted to one Pokemon. We've only got lovely, beautiful, monogamous relationships around here. We're not having any adulterous Snorlaxes, so attract can only be applied once. So again, no effect there in doubles. The only effect is that you can get another chance at flinching the opponent. So if we plug that into the equation, it's basically just another 4 in 10 chance to times everything by, and the final chance to attack is 1.07%. Like literally 1 in 100 times this Snorlax will get an attack off. Like that's tiny. 1 in 100. That is so rare. So I think that is pretty cool, and that is going to be like the way that you can try to prevent your opponent from attacking. That is basically the minimum chance to attack and the maximum hacks that you could try to apply to stop your opponent from attacking. So that's pretty cool. But the video isn't over yet, and so why is that? Well, this isn't actually the minimum attack chance in the game, but the mechanic that I'm about to talk about isn't in your control really, it's about what Pokemon the opponent is using. So, what we're going to talk about now is disobedience. No, not the cool art house film, but Pokemon disobedience. So you guys may or may not be aware that if you trade a very high level Pokemon with your friend before you've got the necessary gym badges to use it, that Pokemon may not listen to your commands. When you go for an attack, there's a chance that it will just turn away or loaf around or even just fall asleep. So this is a mechanic that's kind of interesting in game. It means that you can't basically cheese the first gym leader with a level 100 Pokemon that your friend traded you. Well, you kind of can, but it takes a long time because it just doesn't do what you want it to do. I've looked at the Bulbapedia page and the mechanics into this. There's not a ton of research done there because it's an in-game mechanic only, so people wanting to do battles aren't really bothered by it. You can just get the gym badges if you need it. So there's not a ton of information there, but what there is there, I looked into. There's this like weird complex equation, and it takes into account the level of the Pokemon that you're trying to use, the level of Pokemon that you can actually control with the number of gym badges and things that you've got, and then it plugs in a random number in there as well. Long story short, if you've got a level 100 Pokemon before the first gym, the chance that a Pokemon will obey you is only 16%. There's an 84% chance that it will just do something completely differently. So if we think that this is going to be the target for all of our mischievous hacks that we've just talked about previously, so they've got a 1% chance to try to attack after all of the hacks, and then they've got a 16% chance to just loaf around anyway or put themselves to sleep after thawing from the freeze. What does that mean as the minimum chance to attack this turn? Well, it puts it at 0.1%. 0.1%. So we're talking about 1 in 1,000 turns. This level 100 Pokemon just will not get the chance to attack, which is kind of crazy, and I think that that's a pretty interesting stat that you guys can take away and think about. But yeah, that's going to be where we leave it today. The little bit at the end there about disobedience I think is more of a caveat. I just know that I'll get comments about it if I didn't talk about it, so I thought I'd put it in. But really, the way that you can control it in doubles battle is going to be a 1% chance to attack, in a singles battle a 2.67% chance to attack. Hope you found this one interesting. It was a bit of a deep dive, and I really enjoyed making it, but it was a bit crazy. Please leave a like if you did enjoy it, because that really helps me plan out what content you guys want to see. But that's going to be all for today. Thanks so much for watching. I've been Fu, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye. Hello everybody, it's Fufu here, and welcome back for another top 5 most wanted video. Today we're going to be counting down the top 5 most wanted Mega Evolutions for Generation 2 Pokemon. Those are Pokemon from the Johto region. There are currently only 6 Mega Evolutions out of the Johto Pokemon, and there are tons of potential Pokemon that could get a Mega, so this is going to be a really interesting one. As usual, this list is not just my opinions, but I
actually created a poll which I shared on Twitter, and it got hundreds of votes, so we can really find out what would the most popular Mega Evolution for Generation 2 Pokemon be. If you want to be involved in the next poll, follow me on Twitter, and now let's count down the top 5 most wanted Generation 2 Mega Evolutions. Number 5. In at number 5 is Girafarig. This cool palindromic Pokemon has a typing that was unique at the time that it came out, but it now shares that Psychic normal typing with Meloetta and Oranguru, who are arguably better in competitive spheres. Girafarig's stats are mediocre, it's not so fast, and it's not particularly strong, and it's actually kind of frail. Outside of its ability Sap Sipper, which grants it an immunity to grass type attacks and an attack boost if it's hit by one, there's nothing really to write home about with this Pokemon. So it's kind of understandable why people want to see it get a Mega Evolution and a refresh. So how would that work? Well, its typing of Psychic Normal would probably change. I think a lot of Mega Girafarig designs see its tail end get a lot bigger or a lot more significant in terms of the design, and we know that the tail end is the reason why Girafarig gets the move Crunch, which is a dark type move, so I think it's
What's going on YouTube? My name is ADC Art Attack and welcome back to a brand new episode in this professional artist versus children's coloring books. This is the series where I, ADC Art Attack, the artist, takes a children's coloring books and attempts to add my own flair to it. During this series we've done various different things, and as well as me just adding my own flair to them, it's also a chance for us to work together. This is a chance for everyone to get involved and everyone to color and just have some fun. That is the message I'm trying to get across here. Coloring books are designed for people of all ages and they are just here to have some fun. So with that said, let's have a look at what we've got for today. I heard you, I listened. No really, I do that sometimes. I'm back with clearly the superior hero of the two big boys.
Nope.
I don't even like the guy. Dragon Ball. That's right, Dragon Ball. We finally got ourselves some Dragon Ball coloring books. You have been requesting this like crazy, and finally, I am bringing it. So today we have two coloring books. Now the reason I purchased two is because, well, you're gonna see, when you look inside these things, it is pretty fun actually. You're gonna like this one. Trust me. On the exterior, these two coloring books look really nice and really nice quality. They look pretty great. This one's a little bit better, but hey, it's what's on the inside that counts. So let's take a look inside these things. If you do want to get yourself some of these coloring books, I will link them down below in the description. Make sure you check them out, and hopefully in the future, you will color one of these alongside me. Just like these guys and girls who managed to find these same coloring books that I have been using and did a great job replicating them. Also those who found new and exciting coloring books and gave them a go. Remember, if you do want to be featured in a future video or you just want to get involved in this, all you have to do is share your creation with me on Instagram, ADC Art Attack, or with the hashtag coloring book challenge. Or if you're not really feeling Instagram, then you can tag me on Twitter, that's ADC Art Attack. So with all that being said, let's take a look inside these coloring books before we get started, and whoo, this is gonna be a fun one. So I hope you do enjoy the video. Hit it! Alright, so here we have our two lovely Dragon Ball Z coloring books. Now, before we actually get on to looking into this one, I wanted to look at this one first. The reason being is I have had a cheeky little look through them, and wow. This coloring book right here is one of the biggest disrespects to Dragon Ball I've ever seen, and I really want you to see what is inside this. So let's have a look. You open the first page and you're greeted with a very nice Dragon Ball Z 40 illustrations Dragon Ball Z coloring book. It looks pretty nice. Copyright of Kelly Brixton, whoever you are. What have you done here? So opening the pages, you start off with a really nice image and it doesn't look too bad. However, once you start getting into it, the quality starts to downgrade a little bit, but still, it's not too bad. And then you realize, oh, this is what I purchased. Yeah, if you can't see what the issue is here, basically, what the hell? Who is this? I don't know who this character is, and just what is going on here? As we go throughout this coloring book here, we'll see, I don't know what's going on there. This, no. What has happened here? Oh my. Well, can't be seen some shorts. I'm done. Alright, we're stopping there. We're going to move on and have a look at the other coloring book. A little bit better than this one, I hope. Yeah, let's go check that out. Okay, so here is the Dragon Ball Z coloring book for kids and adults. I like that they are marketed to both kids and adults because, hey, coloring books are for all ages and anyone can color one of these. Just pick one up and go for it. And starting this coloring book off, when you open it, the images are actually pretty good. Throughout this, they're not too bad. They start off very strong, and I do like the way the characters are. I know it's a little bit difficult to see them, but they look pretty well rendered out from the series itself. There's actually a really nice image right here, and I think I may use this one. It looks pretty good, well rendered out. Yeah, I really like it. And here comes the madness. So, what on earth is going on there? Yeah, this is where it gets a little bit crazy. I don't even know what's going on in this last part of the book. What is that? What? These is just so bad. Okay, guys, so we're going to go through and pick 2 or 3 images we're going to use. And yeah, hopefully you do enjoy this video. Let's get on with coloring some of these Dragon Ball coloring book images. This is going to be great. Okay, so first one, I wanted to start, before we go pushing the boundaries and trying something fancy and new, I wanted to do something that's, I'm going to consider this a warm-up. And what I mean by that is I want to do something that is the way we would most associate Dragon Ball's art style. So no fancy stuff here, just something we can all do together and follow along with. Now I am, as is tradition, going to be breaking down what I'm doing when I'm doing it, just to help you along if you do want to follow along with this and give it a go yourselves. So to start with, I'm going to start by dropping down the base colors. Now there's no perfect or one singular palette across the show. The styles and tones are always changing, so don't focus too much on that. Try more so to just have colors that blend well together. Here I'm going to be using a vanilla base, because why not? It looks natural and yeah, I mean it works. And with that layer done, it's your decision if you lay a second tone over it. I mean, personally, I kind of want it to be washed out, so I'm going to leave the base a single tone. That's just my personal preference. It's entirely up to you what you do. I just want to keep it like it is. Next up, the shadows. Again, no strict rule here. We can get into ways we shade in the future, but for the basics, let's just say the face. Imagine one half is completely shaded, and just remove mentally the color in your head of the light areas. So anything that's sort of sticking out, such as the eyebrows, the cheekbones, the nose, etc. Just be aware of those things to, I don't know, just kind of unshade them in the shadowy areas. Here I'm using a soft peach. A single layer is quite nice, and if I wanted the entire piece to be washed out, I'd probably leave it as a single layer and just let the vanilla show through. But on camera, it doesn't look so visible or too good, so I'm going to double up here just to make the viewing experience for you guys a little bit better. So that's why I'm doing it, but again, either way, it's cool, don't sweat it. The deep shadows, I like to do 3 tones, sometimes even 4 if you consider the white highlights, but I left them out today because I kind of know that they are pretty controversial and not many people really like them. So yeah, 3 tones using a coral here, and it's pretty easy to do. Just look for the areas furthest from the light source and sort of loosely follow the first shadow that you laid down, but not perfectly. I've never liked doing that, so follow but don't follow, kind of. Wow, that's actually looking really nice. Yeah, I really like the way this looks. I do enjoy coloring this guy. It's been a long time, and it's sort of second nature to me now, because I've been coloring Dragon Ball since I was very young. I should probably use this moment right now as we get on to coloring the clothing, just to say that the paper quality here is actually pretty good. It does very much remind me of stock paper, so standard cartridge paper. Nothing fancy, but nothing, you know, too bad, so it's working very nicely and giving a great effect to it. It's sort of giving a very organic, sort of rich effect that you find in classic sort of manga style. So I really like this paper, and it is working well. The markers I'm using are pro markers and brush markers, and the reason I'm doing those is, once again, we say this every time, it's because they are cheap, super duper cheap. They're about 1/3, sometimes 4 times less of the price than Copic markers, and that's just why I don't use them. That's why I steer clear of Copic. I just think they're too expensive for what you get. I know a lot of people want to say to me that the refills are this, that, and the other, but hey, I still enjoy using my pro markers and brush markers. I think they work fantastic. They're very cheap, artists on a budget. Yeah. And yeah, so regarding the clothing, now I will list all of the colors that I'm using here down below in the description, so make sure you check that description out, and they will be set in lightest to darkest. But the clothing pretty much follows the same pattern as the skins, so there's nothing fancy again going on here. I'm just doing the same thing that I did with the skins, but I'm doing it to the clothing. The only difference here is I'm actually using the China Blue twice, so I'm actually using that as my second shade as opposed to using a different color. I just like to do that sometimes, and I'll also be using a gray, which again we found out in a previous video that the grays really do just add a nice natural color, a nice natural shadow. So that's why I'm doing that, and yeah, enjoy. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave it right here. I'm going to let this just play out, and we're going to catch you in a moment because I have a surprise for you guys. This is not the only drawing. So enjoy the remainder of this one, and I'll catch you in a moment. Hey, I'll tell you what, that looks really nice, and we're not going to critique it too much right now. I'm going to save it for the end of this video because we are about to move on to the next part. Now, in this part, I want to pretty much keep the same style, however, I want to add a different coloring technique. Now, this is a little bit more advanced, but it's not something that's too out of the realm for everyone, so I'm going to do my best to explain it to you and hopefully help you along. But remember that we are keeping the same technique that we used in the prior drawing. We're going to carry that over here, but we're just going to add a few little things to change it up and make it look slightly different. Now again, every color that I'll be using for this one will be identical to the one I used in the previous one. I don't want to change up the colors too much. The only exception to this will probably be the hair. I will change the colors that I used slightly just to match the style. However, for the most part, the skins, the clothing, it's all going to be the same color. So don't worry too much. As long as you've got those colors down, let's do that. Okay, so here is where the fun begins. This is where we start to add the different style to it, to pretty much a different technique to it. Keep the same style, but we just want to add a different technique. And that different technique is going to involve us using a little bit of blending, but not too much. So don't be afraid. What we're going to do here is we're going to get some pencils, and we're going to use these pencils in key areas, specific areas, and we're just going to very lightly drag them across. Now, it is in your best interest to try to find a skin pastel, something that matches your second shadow or your base shadow, something that just works well to blend across them if you do make any sort of mistakes. So I do have a soft peach on hand just in case there's any problems and I need to soften out some blending. As you can see, it already changes up the entire drawing. It changes the entire sort of look of this, and it just brings it to a little bit more detail, a little bit more eye-catching. Now, whether this is your personal preference, whether you enjoy this more or less, it doesn't really matter too much. It's just a little bit more eye-catching. It just adds a difference to it, and it's just a nice technique. I really like to use it sometimes, but I do understand that there are those out there who just like to do standard Dragon Ball coloring, and that is perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. Now I'm going to use this moment just here to say a couple of things. I've been drawing Dragon Ball for many years. I've been drawing Dragon Ball for around 15 to 20 years. It's been a very long time, and Dragon Ball has been a very important part of my life and my art career. So most of this does come as second nature to me, and I'm able to do this without using a reference. Many of you may find that you might need a reference, and that is perfectly fine. We all start off somewhere, so don't worry about it. I didn't take any special art lessons, I didn't take any special art course. I've just been drawing from reference videos for my whole life, and from that I learned and adapted and went on to create my own pieces of artwork and being able to reference my own material. So don't feel discouraged. If you feel like you can't get something right, don't worry about it. Grab a source material, grab a reference, and just work from it. Even hell, use one of these as a reference. It's perfectly fine. Just, most importantly, do your best to keep this relaxing. Keep art relaxing. Don't stress too much about it. Don't try to overwork yourself. Just keep it calm, keep it relaxed, and enjoy. So from this point, I'm just going to say there's probably not much more I can go into here, so I'm going to let the drawing play out. I'm going to let you sit back, relax, and enjoy it. I might say a few things towards the end, but hey, when we get to the end of the video, we'll discuss the entire thing as a complete drawing, and we'll compare the two styles and just see what you think about them. So, enjoy. Okay, great, so this is done. However, we're not quite finished with this one just yet. Firstly, I want to put them both up on screen so we can just compare them real quick before I continue on with this. So right here, you can already see the similarities in the styles, however the techniques are different. And it's up to you to decide which you personally feel is the better version. You can leave a comment down below letting me know. With that being said, we are now going to add a background to the one we've just done, just to spice it up a little bit. So we're going to take some referencing and sort of inspiration from the manga panels showcasing Super Saiyan 3 Goku. So let's get on with that, and I'll catch you at the end. Alright, here we are. This is done. I am so happy with how this one looked. Again, no reference was taken for this, so this was just pretty much me doing what I wanted to do. I really do like it. I think it came out fantastic. One of the high points for me is probably that skin. I think the skin looks really, really nice. And the plain background is actually quite cool too. The reason I went for the background like that is due to this sort of harsh electric that they've given the character. There wasn't too much I could really do with it, so I figured I'd play it into the manga type setting. And it worked out pretty well. Looking back at the first one that we did, hey, I really like that as well. I think it looks super clean. Really do like that one. I would have liked to have done them both the same image, but to be honest, this Vegito that we just did kind of caught my eye, so I just had to do that. I would really much like for you to leave a comment down below on which one you prefer, the left-hand side or the right-hand side. Now I'll showcase them without the background first because I think it might sway votes a little bit. I think with the background, definitely the right hand side because it just suits my artistic style a bit more. I do like the way it looks. And with that all being said, I've been ADC Heart Attack and I do hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did like today's video, then please leave a like on the video, but most importantly, leave a comment down below with today's 2 questions. First question was Goku or Superman? Difficult choice. And the second question being, which one did you prefer, the left or the right hand side? I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the Artist versus Coloring Books, and I do hope you're enjoying this series. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, and I hope you don't think I forgot. A lot of people request this, so here is the back of these drawings. And I really do like the way the backs look. I think the back of them actually is really good. Really like it. See you next time. In the world of fantasy, with superheroes and villains, we all have our favorites, be it Deadpool, Superman, absolutely anyone on this t-shirt right here, and of course one of the fan favorites, Captain America. But there is one superhero, one guy who we can all genuinely kind of agree is probably one of our top 5 heroes in everyone's list, and that guy, ladies and gentlemen, is Spider-Man. Wait, you had a t-shirt somewhere. Spider-Man! That's right, Spider-Man. Ever since I began doing this coloring book series, I wanted to color Spider-Man. You all wanted me to color Spider-Man. I've seen the comments. It has been crazy, and I was so relieved and happy to have finally found this. I've been searching everywhere. So, we are gonna flick through this thing. I actually don't know what this cost me. There's no price on it, and I got it off of Amazon in like a bulk buy, so yeah. But we are gonna flick through this right now together. I am super excited for this one. I think this one is gonna come out absolutely amazing, and I just can't wait to start this. So without further ado, let's get looking inside it, see what we've got to work with. We're gonna pick the best images and hopefully create a beautiful piece of artwork with everyone's favorite Spider-Man. Oh, but before we do that, we gotta say right now, for all of you who are new and all of you who don't agree that Spider-Man is one of the best, leave a comment down below. Who is your favorite superhero across all media? Enjoy the video. Let's do this. Right, hello. Here we go. We've got a Spider-Man coloring book. Finally, it's been so long. I've been waiting so long for this. But as is tradition, before we begin, we're going to have a look through this right now and see what we've got to work with. So, front cover, really nice. Spider-Man, Marvel, coloring book. On the back side, Spider-Man, Spider-Man, Spider with a red background. Really nice. Moving back to the front. We're going to open this up, see what we've got inside. Spider-Man coloring book for kids. Hey, I'll do what I want when I want. So, first page we have, that's not Spider-Man. It could be, but it's not. Okay, so some of these images are sort of this way, so we're going to ignore those because I don't want to be drawing in that view. So, let's give it a room. Oh my god! Spider-Man on a bike. Coolest thing ever. What? Anyway, I was supposed to be flicking through this. Let's continue flicking through until we find something we really want to work with. Superhero landing. Spider-butt, Spider-butt. Wow. Well, that actually looks pretty cool. Besides some, like, clipping issues here, it looks... Wow, I really like this one. We might do this one. Let's continue going on. And if we find something better... But that looks pretty good. Huh. No. This is what we're going to be working with. I have got an idea for this. I know what I want to do. Now, there is a downside with this frame being around it, but we are going to try to work that frame into this drawing. The only nightmare is this sort of thing it's doing. Stop that. I can't wait to get on with this. I'm super excited for it. Spider-Man is just the best ever, and I do hope you like this drawing when it's done. During this whole drawing process, I'm going to be talking to you through exactly what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, so if you want to learn with me at home, we can do that together. Let's get on with colouring. And here's Whip. Right, so kicking things off, let's start as we always do by adding our base colours. we're going to be using one type of red and one type of blue, and later we're going to be using a sort of darker shade to highlight where those shadows will be. Now this is a personal preference, you don't have to do that, but that's something I like to do to just guide me along the way later on when we start adding some shadows in. And let me just say, at this point I have no idea what the future will bring. In previous installments I've planned out quite heavily what I'm going to be doing with a character, but right here I just want to be a little bit more carefree and just sort of see where it takes me. So right here you're seeing me add some shadows using my markers. Now this is a step that I like to do. This isn't a step you necessarily have to do, because when we go on to using the pencils later on, we can hide any of this and all of this, to be honest. But I do it because it gives me a little bit more of a clearer guideline later on when I'm adding those shadows with the pencils. And I'm also a little bit more free here, because any mistakes that I do make with these markers, it means nothing because I can cover them up completely with the pencils. Or usually I can. We'll see how this paper works out. But I would suggest either using the same tone of marker and just doubling up the color, or just grabbing the sort of next shade down or up, whichever way you want to go with that, basically the darker one, and just putting a little bit of a rough guide in so you know where your shadow is going to be. You just have a clearer understanding later on of what you got to do. While I'm colouring this, I just want to say a couple of things about the paper itself, because I am already noticing a few things with this. So we're going to compare it to our previous installments and just see how it stacks up. So yeah, this is easily the worst paper we have used thus far. I don't know what it's made from, but it is draining my pens super fast, and the bleeding is a little bit uncontrollable here. Now, as I always say, I am an artist on a budget. That means I only have one pen for each color. So, hey, stop making my ink level so low, please. But seriously, I can already tell that this paper wants to challenge me. This paper is coming at me, and you know what? I accept your challenge, and we're gonna go at it. Me and this paper, we're... Okay, well, this is looking pretty good actually, with the colors as they are. Yeah, you know what, I'm kind of happy. We could probably just end the video right here. But let's make our lives hard. Let's make it just a little bit more difficult by trying to add another style. A style that I have used in the past. So we're going to go grab our pencils and let's see what we can do. So this style is something I've used to turn sort of animated, cartoonish images into a more realistic style. It is something that I used back in episode 5 for the Iron Man, though I am definitely going to hold back a little bit with this one just because of the limitations of this paper. I don't think I'll be able to do it, and also at this point I've kind of got an idea of what I want to do for the background, and if I go realistic with Spider-Man, that is going to cause me a complete headache later on with that background, so we're not going to do that right now. Now, the reason I lay a pencil on top of marker, this is a technique and strategy I've been using for many years, is because it allows us to have a solid coloured base as opposed to having the white of the paper showing through. It also allows for the pencils to go down a little bit easier on top of it. Don't ask me why, but it really just makes it just a little bit easier. That said, I am already noticing a lack of coverage being allowed with this paper here. So I don't know what, I really don't know what this paper is made of, but it is trying to make this difficult, but we will push forward.
Back.
Okay, nice. So we're sort of getting somewhere at the moment. It's not looking terrible. So if it's not looking terrible, it's looking okay-ish. So moving on to the leg. Now this is what I would consider the foreground of this image, as it is sort of the largest part of Spider-Man's physique right here. I consider it the foreground, which is why I'm going to put a lot more detail into the leg muscles, adding a lot more muscle than you might expect. Kind of what I do actually, I kind of go over the top when I don't need to. But yeah, I just think as it's in the foreground, it should be treated in such a respectable way and given all the details it could possibly want. So yeah, brush up on your muscle anatomy, because this is going to be crazy. Okay, so at this point, Spider-Man is complete, for the most part anyway. There's probably some stuff I'll add shortly, but for the most part, it looks alright, it's not too bad. Now comes the fun bit. We have tried to do something with that background, and the background's pretty plain. We're kind of limited with that big rectangle right there, so I'm thinking window. Window is a kind of easy cop out, and I think that would work pretty well right here. And now that I've said I'll be doing a window, you probably understand why I said I will hold back on the realism on Spider-Man, because no way am I going to be coloring in a realistic window. Ho ho, no 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 no. Don't know if you've ever tried it, but hey, drawing glass, nightmare. Honestly, I didn't plan. I did not plan a single bit of this this window frame. I just started doing stuff, and you will notice a couple times I do go outside of the line areas that I was planning to do. That's just because I genuinely had no idea what kind of frame I was going to do. I had no reference, so I was just kind of whatever. And I'm honestly actually very nervous at this point, because as I said before, the paper quality isn't fantastic, and what it did to my markers when coloring in just Spider-Man was quite heavy. So I'm already pretty low on those colors, and this is a big risk going into this, knowing that those colors I used already started to run out of ink just on him alone. So grabbing another color to attempt the background is going to be a little bit difficult. So in order to limit the amount of marker I'll be using, what I've decided to do is add a pair of blinds into the window. I wanted to add just a set of window blinds, something that would save me coloring in the entire window one color. And then like a fool, I decided to put the window blinds closed, which kind of left me coloring in the window one color. That was a good decision, wasn't it? So as I'm progressing through this, I'm getting more and more nervous about this. I am really conscious of the amount of ink I'm using on this paper, the way that the paper itself is treating the ink with the bleeding. It's very nerve-wracking. So to substitute some of the mistakes, I decided earlier that I would add the cracks into the frame of the windows, and they were just there to sort of absorb the blending. The bits that I'd overspilled from the lines, that was just there to cover those. But when it comes to the window itself, you don't really have that scapegoat. There isn't really an out option. Or so I thought. So I decided, right, I'm going to add a shadow to Spider-Man. I'm going to put a shadow on him against the blinds themselves. So it's not a shadow on the window, but it's a shadow on the blinds. But as I got into doing this, I started to realize it doesn't really show as a shadow. It looks a little bit off, you know. You can't tell the blinds are there, and you can't really tell what is happening here. So this is where I went into panic mode. This is where everything for me was just, right, we're just going to grab anything we can. My two pens have run out of ink completely, so we are really struggling here. We're going to grasp at straws. We're going to start adding some highlights to this window, shadows to the window, and then eventually, finally, I decided to add reflections to the window. Now, the reflections were a last-minute decision, and this was based on pretty much the principle that it just wasn't clear that this was a window. you couldn't tell it was a window. Unless I had told you it was a window, you wouldn't have noticed that. So I added the reflections of Spider-Man first. That was difficult. And then I felt, right, well, if Spider-Man's there, we're going to have to add some more reflections. So let's put some clouds in there. But I didn't want it to appear that he was, you know, swinging from his web 500 foot off the floor. I wanted to bring it a little bit more down to the ground. So I decided to add some buildings. And at this point, my camera did die on me, so there might be a little bit missing. But we do kind of get back into it. And yeah, so I'm just putting some generic buildings in there, nothing crazy, and I'm actually inspired with the buildings from the original PlayStation games. If you ever played the Spider-Man games, that's where the inspiration to do those buildings came from. And finally, when we get towards the end, I do add a special monument in there, just because, hey, it's Spidey, and he is, and forever will be, an Avenger. So I'm going to let the rest of this play out right now, and we will come back at the end to discuss my choices, my options, what I've done with this, and yeah.
Whew, this statement from Blizzard is downright insulting. Look, yesterday's video covering everything that was going on with Blizzard, I don't know if YouTube is like suppressing these type of videos. I wouldn't be surprised if they were. Everybody's covering it. Young Yeah, Angry Joe, myself, and everyone's videos didn't do as good as I thought they would. So I'm going to leave the tweet that's sharing this video in the pinned comment. If you use Twitter, please share it. Or if you use Minds or Facebook, definitely get this out there, because people need to know just how deplorable Blizzard's behavior has been in capitulating to the state, we'll call it. And look at this statement. So they actually put out an official statement on 10/8 that kind of flew under the radar. This is their official statement, all right? And here's what it says translated. We are very